Oh. Swing and a miss. We're out here at Plymouth State Park today, and my son Fisher and I are going to demonstrate a really simple technique for fishing for panfish. And one of the great things about this technique is that it's super easy for young humans to pick up because there's no casting. There is a technique to it, and we'll show you that, but there's no reels involved. There aren't a whole bunch of tangles, things like that. It's ultra simple, just a stick, a leader, and a lure. And we catch hundreds of fish with this technique. In fact, Fisher earned his Master Angler pin this year, and I want to say about 3 of the 5 species on that were all caught on this bamboo rod setup. So real quick, Fisher and I are both going to demonstrate the casting technique right now. So what we do is we lift our rod tip up high so the lure swings to us, and then we just do a slight forward movement while we drop the rod tip, and that makes our lure fly way out in front of us. So basically all we do is we swing that lure out, we set it down in the water, and in the water it's going to slowly pendulum back to us. And that slow pendulum motion is what draws in the strike. 90% of the time, that's when you're going to get a hit. Once the lure gets back under you and is just sitting there, you'll notice the fish will just sit there and stare at it. They're not really interested. They want to see it moving. So we sometimes do a jiggle freeze motion, but for the most part, this is called flipping. We just swing it out there and we let it pendulum back to us in the water. And that is basically it. All right, so we're going to build a bamboo rod for this extremely simple type of fishing. So the first material that I have here is obviously this is about a 5-foot stick of bamboo, which you can pick up at any craft store or any box store in their craft department. So the next thing I have here is this is 30-pound test high-vis catfishing monoline. This part isn't absolutely necessary, but it provides a bright color so that you can use it as a strike indicator, and you'll see that when we're fishing. So to tie the knot, here's what I'm going to do. First, I'm just going to leave about 8 inches of tag line off the end of the rod there, okay? So then, coming down on the rod, I'm going to just create one loop. So I'll just create a loop here and just leave this loop laying right on top of the rod. So I'll take my other end, and as tightly as possible, I'm just going to wrap down towards the loop. So the first wrap is the hardest because there's nothing to hold it. So I'll just sort of pinch it in place with my finger, and I'll try to run over that line on my first wrap just so it bites in. So then, after I've got that first wrap on, you just tightly create a whole bunch of wraps. It's great if you can get 10, 15 wraps on there. I'm probably going to only end up with about 7 on this one because I didn't quite have enough line, but that's okay. It's going to hold plenty strong. So here we have our wraps. So I'm going to take my tag end and I'm going to put it through this loop, and while I'm sort of holding everything nice and tight, I'll take the other end and pull tight. And what that is going to do is it's going to suck that tag end down into our knot, and now that line is securely attached to the end of the bamboo. And I didn't even need, it's nice if there's a knuckle right at the end to tie right below the knuckle, and that can help prevent it slipping off, but this is really on there quite solid. So the last step that we need to do in order to actually make this fishable is we're just going to tie a surgeon's loop knot. So I'm just going to take my end here, fold it back, make a loop that's about this big. This is a nice visual indicator to see when you're getting a bite. So what I'm going to do is tie an overhand knot, go through the middle, and I'm just going to come through the middle one more time with that knot, and then tighten it down, keeping the knot itself as close to my loops as possible. Not a big deal, but it just makes for a nice clean setup. So that is the main setup right there, and I'll just clip off my tag end. And now this rod is built and ready to receive our leader line and our hook. So for the leader line, what I'm using is I have 4-pound fluorocarbon. You could use mono, any cheap stuff. I mean, most of those combo rods and reels that you get for kids at the store, they come with 2 to 4 test line on there. That's perfect. What I want for this is I want pretty much the length of my rod in line. So plus a little extra, and I'll show you why. But we want the length of the rod. Now we're going to tie that same surgeon's loop knot on the end. So I know it's really hard to see this, but I'm just creating a loop. And there are a lot of videos online of how to tie surgeon loops. But you just tie a loop, and then you take the loop and you tie an overhand knot. And you go through the knot, the hole twice. So this is how we will attach to our rod. So for this, all we do is put the loop through the loop, and then we just take our tag end all the way down to the other end of the line, and we come through the loop of the clear line. So basically we're just creating a little slip knot here, and that loop will just tighten down onto that main line right there. And this works kind of like a spring bobber on an ice fishing rig, where this 30-pound test line is stiff. So when a fish bites, you can actually just watch the orange and you can see really subtle bites. So now we're going to set up our lure. So I want to figure out about the length of my rod, and I'm going to tie the lure on just shy of the length of the bamboo rod. So for lures, I have this box here. This is my one of my ice fishing tackle boxes. And honestly, sorry, a minnow jumped out. The best lure for this fishing is that Fisher and I have found are these little Trout Magnet 1/64 ounce jig heads. They are tiny little jig heads, and they're just the perfect size for catching panfish. And we pair that with the little red Trout Magnet grub that comes with these hooks. So I've cut the tag off. I actually ended up a little bit longer than the rod. But what's nice when you get it shorter than the rod is this line has a little stretch. And so the way you store it is you just set the hook in the end of the rod, and the stretch on the line will just hold that in place there when you're not using it. And then you just stretch it out and take it off when you're ready to fish. So now we'll put that little grub on, and all we're gonna do is what I like to do to figure out where I'm supposed to come out. I hold the grub up against the hook, and that shows me that we're coming out right here at this little notch. So then I'll just feed that hook, that grub onto the hook, down to that same notch that I visually saw, and then just come out of the grub and slide it up on. And now we have our little grub set up on the 64th ounce. So you can keep this literally this simple. A line just tied to a stick, and I guarantee you that you will catch a lot of fish with the right technique. So structure where you're going to find fish. Docks are great because they provide shade, but also the edges of weeds are fantastic. So this is something deep. The deeper the dock, the better. There'll be more fish under a dock. I don't have my rod out far like Fisher because I'm trying to see if anything's hiding underneath the dock right now. I missed him too. I'm going to swing out. Oh! See if we can get some chasers. Pendulum back. Oh! Must be some little ones down there toying with you. Oh, there we go. They're deep, bud. Get your rod tip basically in the water. There you go. You get your gut. Hi! Double. Cheers. Cheers.